Afternoon intuitives. I'm going to touch on a topic here that isn't spoken that much about from the perspective of a male, but this video is going to be for all INFJs and ENFJs. But keep in mind when I give examples, it's from my perspective, and I'm a heterosexual male. And that's, don't be embarrassed for being a demisexual. Don't bend to the will of society. As I mentioned in a previous video, society pushes INFJs and ENFJs to settle in relationships with narcissists because it's the quote cultural norm, and we're supposed to go chase the party girl or the player guy, and that's just not us. We want no parts of it. We don't even like being in that environment. It's uncomfortable and awkward. And an important thing to know right off the bat is no, you're not alone. And that was tough for me, dealing with being a demisexual before I even knew what it was. I only found out about a year ago. And basically, for those who don't know, basic definition of it is you need a deep emotional connection before you can be sexually intimate with somebody. That, it's not just, oh, she's so gorgeous and you can have something casual. You need that emotional connection, and looks are not the most important thing to you. I mean, yeah, you have to be attracted to somebody, but deep emotional connection in a 7 will beat a shallow 10 any day for a demisexual. The shallow 10 could even be a celebrity. We don't give a shit. If there's no emotional connection, you're not going to sit there and pretend to be into somebody just in the hopes of hooking up with them because, well, we can't fake it. INFJs particularly, we are what we are, and we don't know how to pretend to be somebody else. And it's funny as shit if you've ever seen any try, out of trying to fit in peer pressure. It never goes well. It's very awkward and robotic and unsustainable. We are who we are, and we need to embrace that and not apologize. Never ever apologize for having integrity. I don't care what the status quo is. You don't care what the status quo is, probably. We as INFJs and ENFJs don't bend to the status quo because it's the status quo. We challenge it and change it for the better, and go into INFJ rages over things like degradation, exploitation, deception, lies and manipulation, and narcissistic abuse. We fight against that. We don't bow to it. We fight against it. Never apologize for speaking up about any of that stuff. So, challenges being demisexual. Yeah, society's going to expect you to hook up. That's just the world we live in now. Tinder, shit like that's the norm. They're going to expect you to be a part of that culture. Don't do it if you don't want to. Don't do it because you feel like you have to fit in. Don't be embarrassed about it. I'll tell you right now, I'm 34 years old. I've never had a one-night stand, ever. Just give you a little more transparency. In my 34 years, the number of women I've been intimate with is in the single digits, and all have been in relationships. And yeah, I've passed up, from what I've been told, more than my fair share of opportunities for something casual. And yeah, I got made fun of a lot, particularly by my male friends, but even by my female friends for not pursuing it, because that's just not who I am. And I'm not going to lie to somebody or lead them on, and I can't pretend to be something I'm not. I mean, as INFJs and ENFJs, we sometimes get labeled as asexual. That's really not the case. When we have somebody that we share that emotional connection with, that we're in love with, in a committed, devoted, truthful relationship, sex is a big part of that. I mean, we're going to not go X-rated here, but, we're very intense, sensual, considerate, detail-oriented, very, very, like romantic lovers. We'll just say that, yeah. But if you don't have that connection with that person, you don't feel comfortable, you can't fake it. I mean, I've spoken to INFJs, a couple, who tried to have one-night stands to fit in, and they told me they made fools out of themselves. It was awkward and robotic. Just think of it this way. Even those of us that haven't had one-night stands, we've all, like, made out with somebody at a party, in college, that we weren't really into. It's like to make out with somebody you're not into. It's awkward as shit. It's awkward. It's robotic. You're not in sync with each other. You don't yeah, you just make a fool out of yourself and you don't feel anything. So don't be pushed just to bend to what the quote norm is. No, you're not alone. You're not. I mean, that's a big part of why I'm making this video. When I was in college in the mid 2000s, I didn't know any other guys like me. Thought I was the only one. Thought I was some kind of freak. That's something INFJs and ENFJs struggle with on a whole, because us two types combined are like 3.5% of the population. So chances are you're probably not going to know another one in your close friend group. Being true to ourselves is an important part of who we are. And even if you get played by somebody, don't let that change you. Don't let that make you think like you deserve less. We all fall for deception at least once. I did when I was 25. It's usually going to come in your late teens, from your late teens to your mid 20s. It's kind of a rite of passage for us. I hate to say, we all get played by that guy or that girl that we thought we had a deep connection with, but they were just looking for like a casual fling or a rebound or a trophy. Do not let that change your own perception of yourself and what you deserve. And do not, as demisexuals, think that you have to settle to be for someone who will not treat you the way you want to be treated, because you may believe that, hey, this is the best option available. What I'm looking for doesn't exist. It does exist. Like, we are real, And that's a little more with females than males, because there's more INFJ and ENFJ uh, women than there are males. But yes, right here, demisexual INFJ, I'm real, and there are others like me. They may be too scared to admit what they are, because we go through that as demisexuals too. Part of being demisexual, and particularly INFJ too. Dark sarcastic humor, big part of being an INFJ and an ENFJ too. And we'll tend to, not that we'll go through with one night stands or casual relationships, but we'll make like sarcastic jokes that are very sexualized, very like middle school level, and you will get laughs from it. But that's also our way of trying to fit in, of trying to act like we belong with the cultural norm without like actually taking part in the whole hookup scene. That's just a part of it too. It's us of trying to not stick out in the crowd and trying not to seem like this freak that's so different than anybody else. But don't give in to peer pressure. Don't start to date somebody that you don't feel anything for, just because the people around you are telling you how great they are. And also, as demisexuals, big point, do not sleep with somebody just because it's been X amount of dates. If the connection isn't there, don't do it. Like, just don't ever sleep with somebody out of a sense of obligation or to fulfill a cultural norm. It just leads to a lot of regret and self-loathing. You're not going to be happy with ourselves. We're never happy with ourselves on the rare instances where we sell out our integrity, because it's such a big part of who we are. So, if you're a demisexual, be aware, male or female, that people are going to try to play you. People are going to try to play you and act like you're some kind of conquest to bed the person who doesn't hook up or have one night stands. They'll see it as a challenge. Don't fall for that. Understand that there are others like you out there, and we all go through the same frustrations, especially in our youth. INFJ men have a little extra hurdle to overcome, and that's when we do find somebody, we're expected to make the first move, and we're fucking horrible at it. We are. First impressions, not our thing. Small talk, painful. So, my best advice, guys, that if you feel someone that you have that connection with, and you feel is, also like a demisexual like you, and you sense that there can be something real, listen to your intuition. Don't overthink it. try to talk to her, or him one on one, and see if you see where the conversation goes. Give it, suffer through the 10 minutes of awkwardness and see if it goes deep, and go from there, and trust your intuition. Don't let anybody judge you. Another part of being a demisexual is, since we're not the type to settle for what we may or other people may consider the best option available, don't settle. Understand that periods of celibacy are going to happen. You're going to go through like periods of like over a year or maybe 2 years where you're celibate, because if you don't find someone that you can form that emotional connection with, you're not going to want to pursue anybody. You'd rather be alone, because we don't really have the ability to do casual or to fake that we can. So just don't let that bother you, and understand that if you keep looking, law of probability, you're eventually going to find somebody. Don't settle for someone you're not looking for just because you reach a certain age. That it'll never last. That's a little bit of wisdom, that when you try to settle for somebody who isn't what you really want, but you think you just don't want to be alone, because people around you have been getting on you for your quote dry spell, it's not going to end well, and you're not going to be happy with yourself when it's over. Understand that there are other people like us out there looking for the same thing. That's a really important point. If you do get played and deceived by somebody, it's empowering to call that person out, because that person probably is deceiving other people for their own desires. Call that person out, rip their mask off. You don't want what happened to you to happen to somebody else. Integrity is a big part of who we are. And while it may be painful and we may be embarrassed to admit when we were deceived or didn't trust our intuition, or allowed ourselves to settle, it's kind of embarrassing for us, but it's more important to not let that happen to somebody else. That's part of being an empath, is to be an example for other people, so the same wrongdoings don't happen to others as it did to us. People in general, just be honest. Like, there's plenty of people out there that are into the whole hookup scene and casual dating. Hey, whatever, do you. Just be open and honest with who you're pursuing about what you're looking for. I don't think that's too much to ask. Don't deceive anybody into making them believe that you want something, real and committed, when you're just looking for something casual. Go for the plenty of other people that are looking for that. As a demisexual, you'll get laser focused on one person. If you find someone that you see that potential emotional connection with, that's the only person you're going to want to pursue at that time. It's not like you can go into a bar and be like, oh, she's hot, no, and this one turns me down, so I'm going to go over here. You're going to find someone, you're going to overthink it, and you're going to overthink it some more about, talking to her, trying to pursue a potential relationship. And that's in our nature too. Don't overthink it too much. Trust your intuition. Understand that if you've been able to have some deep conversations with this person, chances are you got a good shot, and you should take it, because maybe this person is waiting for you to make a move. They ain't gonna wait forever. So if you wait too long, they're gonna assume you're not interested, and then you'll see that person with somebody else, and that's gonna hit you like a knife. So take your shot. Even if it doesn't work out well, at least you tried and you did everything you could. What more could you have done? Understand, I know we're perfectionists, but when you ask somebody out, try to get to know somebody you don't know, it's always going to be a little awkward. It's never going to be perfect. I don't care how many times you try running it through your head, you're never going to get it perfect. I tried running these videos through my head, and then when I turn the fucking camera on, half of my thoughts go out of my brain, and I just kind of ramble on. You just got to try to roll with it. And I know living in the moment's not our thing at all. And we're very forward-thinking people. But we know what we want. It's another thing as INFJ, ENFJ demisexuals. we know what we want, and we have to trust that it's out there and not to settle for less. Because when we settle for less, it never ends well. You know what I mean? Like, don't get in a relationship that you know is doomed from the start. I'll make some other videos and some anecdotes about relationships that, on paper seem logical, and other ones where seem illogical, like long distance. But long distance, it basically comes down to if somebody's willing to move, and then it's real too. If somebody's willing to move for you, then you got the real thing, that it's not just something out of convenience or proximity. I'm going to wrap this up because it's gone on a little longer than I thought. But my main point that I wanted to make: if you're a demisexual, just embrace that. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not the only one. There are others like you. Just be open and honest about what you are and what you're looking for, and eventually you'll find someone you can have that real connection with. Blue roses are real. They're just really hard to find, but you'll be so much happier when you do find one, that you continue to look for what you were looking for instead of just settling for whatever was around because you've been single for a little too long and people are getting on you about that. I'm going to keep trying to make videos as much as I can. Work schedule changed, working 6 days a week, a lot of doubles. It's going to take me a couple weeks to adjust to that. If you want to write to me, please continue to do so. It may take me like a week to get back to you, but I will get to it. My civil case is heating up. As always, INFJs and ENFJs, don't sell out your integrity. Stay true to who you are. Help each other out, and continue to challenge the status quo. Please like and subscribe, and never apologize for having integrity.